Hey guys, it's Freedom here, and today I'm making my second video. I asked for um, help deciding what I was going to do for this video, and the majority of people wanted gun control, which isn't very surprising. I thought I'd do it a little bit differently today than the average YouTuber, the average arguer for or against gun control. Because if you want to see those videos where they show statistics and all that stuff, that's already out there. Why would I make another video about that? If you want that, you can go search for those videos on your own. I don't need to repeat what hundreds of people, thousands of people have already said. Instead, I want to talk about the thought process of gun control. To me, gun control really stems from not knowing a lot about guns, and that's how a lot of this kind of stuff, a lot of policies and a lot of laws are created are just by people that don't know what they're talking about. So as far as the thought process goes, I think it's either an irrational fear of guns, maybe um, something devastating happened to you with guns or something like that, in which case I guess it's understandable. However, there's a lot of simply not wanting to know about guns, and denying that there are good uses for guns. On Tumblr, there is a guy on Tumblr who I follow. He's a big gun guy. However, he always goes into the gun control tag, and he was debating this one person for a while, and even using facts and statistics, the person just wouldn't give in. And finally I saw one of the posts on my dashboard saying, the pro gun control person was basically saying there's not an instance where guns save more lives in shootings than they're used for bad. Guns are used more for bad things in mass shootings than they are for good. Well, of course, because if there's a mass shooting, that means that there's probably not anybody there, any good person there with a gun. If it gets to a mass shooting, the reason you don't hear about mass shootings where guns save lives are because they never turn into mass shootings. They never get to that point. And I actually reblogged that post with a link to a list. It was something like the top 10 mass shootings that were stopped by guns, and mass shootings because they never turned into mass shootings. And like I said, this person was pretty ignorant and denying that gun control doesn't work. People with guns save lives, and after seeing that link, he literally just replied with, "That's actually very interesting, thank you." And that's something that nobody else had gotten out of that guy, because it's not just statistics. It's when you see so many people dead in a shooting, and it's just a number. You don't think about the actual lives there. But then when you hear somebody stopped a mass shooting with a gun, you just think, oh, fantastic, he blah, it wasn't even a mass shooting, and maybe if they didn't have guns in the first place, and it wouldn't have happened at all. And you don't think about all the lives that were actually saved in that instance. But it goes deeper than this. I think that gun control stems simply from the media bringing fear to America, and that's, if you think about it, that's all TV, that's all media and commercials and all that really are. And I actually had a post the other day. It was a GIF with a long caption on it. I forget the guy's name. Marlon Manson. I'm sorry if I'm not a fan of him, but anyway, it was a really interesting quote, and it was basically, the media, when you turn on your TV and you watch any news, it doesn't matter, MSNBC, Fox, anything. If you turn on the news, all it is fear, because that's all you want to consume, because that's all you want to hear about is fear. When you're fearful because you don't understand something. You stopped becoming afraid of the dark when you learned what was actually in the dark. Okay? You're scared of the dark because you didn't know, because you can't see what's in the dark. But when you actually had this rational realization that you know what's in the dark, you know it's just the regular world without light, then suddenly you're not scared of it anymore. And so why do they have to report on things that people know about? Why, happy things, they might make you feel good, but the best stories, the best selling stories are the ones that make you scared, the ones that make you think about life, and because they can keep feeding it to you. They have a happy story about kittens saved in a fire. A firefighter saves 100 kittens in a giant burning building. That's a one-day thing. They're going to report on that story and you'll never hear it again. Somebody robs a convenience store in your area, they'll show that for weeks to come because you'll keep feeding off of it because you're scared, because you don't understand it. And I think that's where the mass shooting thing comes from. But back to the quote, it was more about how you turn on the TV and you consume fear. And then it goes to commercial. And it's, I think the examples it used was acne cream because you're not going to get laid if you have acne. You should be scared. Or Colgate, nobody's going to want to talk to you if you have a dirty mouth or if you have stinky breath. Be fearful, buy our product, consume, consume, consume. Even if it's not actually going out and buying something, even if it's just consuming their information, it's consumption. And they can control you that way because you're scared. And so I think the whole thing about gun control is not knowing about guns. And I've said this already a few times in this video, I know, but the people that know about guns, the people that grew up around guns, they're not against gun control because they love their guns more than life itself, because they don't care if the children die if they get to keep their guns. And it's just silly. It's the people that grew up around guns are against gun control because they understand how guns work. They understand the functionality of guns. They understand how they use guns. They understand that people defend themselves with guns, that they hunt with guns, and that it's just fun to go out shooting with guns. Okay, I've shot thousands and thousands of rounds through guns, and I've only been hunting a few years. There's no way I'm putting thousands of rounds that way. I've never had to defend myself, luckily, with a gun. I didn't put thousands of rounds through a gun defending myself. I put thousands of rounds through a gun killing paper. Because it's fun. It's a stress reliever. It's fun. And if shooting guns isn't your kind of fun, who's to say I like your kind of fun? I don't. I probably don't. Because I like shooting guns. That's my fun. I've never murdered anybody with them. The majority of people haven't. The great majority have never hurt anybody. Murdering people, if I could talk, or defending themselves. They've never hurt anybody. And basically, and the people that are for gun control, it's like, no, I've grown up around guns. My dad had a gun, or I have a pistol and a shotgun for self-defense, and there's no need for an automatic assault rifle, not knowing right there that people don't own automatic guns. AR-15s are not automatic assault rifles with 30-round clip magazines. And, you never see somebody that owned an AR-15 that later says, well, I sold it because there was no use for it, and now I think that they should be banned. The only thought I ever had with my AR-15 was killing hundreds of people, so I had to sell it because there was no other use for it. And I think that the solution to gun control is giving up a little. It's not, so many people that are against gun control, it's starting to be this thing where, first of all, you already have to get background checks. You already have, that's already a thing. Background checks are already a thing. When you go to a store, you have to get a background check. My Mosin Nagant that I have sitting right over there, that was bought online. I couldn't order that. My dad couldn't order that. We had to go to a licensed FFL dealer and actually have that guy order it for us, get it into his shop, and then we had to buy it from him after getting a background check. And that's how gun purchases are. But I think it is giving in a little more than that. A lot of people think that, anybody should be able to buy a gun, which I agree with. Anybody should be able to defend themselves. Obviously, if you have a very violent criminal background, then yes, there are going to be consequences like giving up your guns because you had the right to own a gun and you kind of ruined it for yourself. And I think when you're born, you have the right to self-defense. Everybody does. And we just assume that, if you want to buy a gun, you should be able to go out and buy a gun. But this giving up that I think we need to do to get rid of the gun control, this whole phenomenon of we need gun control, in order to get rid of that, I think this giving that we have to do is a sense of teaching people about guns. It's something that both sides should agree with. It's not a big thing. It's actually very common sense. How I think we should stop this whole gun control thing: offer classes in schools, offer classes to the public, and teach people about guns when they're younger. Even though we have a generation now of people that don't know about guns, doesn't mean that we have to have a generation in the future of people that don't know about guns. Why are there not classes in high schools and colleges that will teach you about... There used to be. That used to be just a basic thing about school. You went to school and they'd always have gun safety classes. They'd give little kids these shotguns and rifles and they'd teach them the fundamentals of it. And if you notice, that generation, our grandparents, are not the ones that are fighting for gun control. They're the old grannies now that are sitting on their porch with a double-barrel shotgun out in the middle of the country. They were one of our greatest modern generation, that's what I'm trying to say. The people that were taught about guns, they're the ones that are safe and responsible. They're the ones that we look up to. They're the ones that fix things that are broken. They don't buy a new one. And suddenly when we take that out, we have this whole generation of mindless people just yelling gun control, gun control, gun control. I don't understand guns, but we need to control them. And if I could take a high school class, and if I knew that all the people in my school were able to take a class where you would walk into class and there would be a teacher sitting there with gun diagrams up on the board, and he would actually explain to you, this is how a gun works, this is a bolt action, this is a lever action, these are how semi-automatics work, this is how caliber works, this is how you measure a gun caliber in millimeters, this is how you measure a gun caliber in the American caliber system. And if I knew people were doing that, there'd be a lot less people scared about guns. There'd be a lot less people hurting themselves with guns. There'd be less people trying to get gun control. And I'm asking liberals this now, wouldn't you feel better knowing that people actually know about guns? They're actually going to know how guns operate. They're going to know to be safe with guns. They're going to have been taught gun safety in a school. They don't have to actually go out, find somebody that's going to pay them to do that, and then they're going to take the classes. You have to be of age, I think, normally, unless you're taking like a hunting class. And even then, you're taught about a lot of other stuff besides guns. It gets off topic of guns because it's not just about guns. So as far as gun control goes, I think it's ridiculous. It doesn't save lives. It just doesn't. The Adam Lanza thing was when, after Sandy Hook first started, it was guy shoots up school with AR-15. Guy shoots up school with AR-15. Guy shoots up school with AR-15. Next week, guy shoots up school with pistols and AR-15. And then guy shoots up school with pistols and long gun. And then all of a sudden guy shoots up school, had long gun in car, you know? And they switched to this long gun, and suddenly they had video of the police actually taking the gun out of the car, and it was not an AR-15, it was a shotgun. And he didn't even use it, first of all, but, you know, like I said, it was in his car. But it's this fear that they pump into you. It's saying, you know, nobody knew what an AR-15 was before this happened. Nobody cared about an AR-15 before this happened. But suddenly when they pump you with fear, you're scared of it, and you don't know why, because you don't know what it is. All they do is pump the name into your head. AR-15, AR-15, assault rifle, 30-round magazine clips with explosive baby-killing scope rounds. And it's just ridiculous. You know, all these people, you hear these pro-gun control news anchors that just talk nonsense. The ghost gun, you know, this is a ghost gun. It fires 30-round magazine clips in a second, and it's just ridiculous. You know, AR-15s are semi-automatic. I have semi-automatic hunting rifles here that you would never want to ban. You know, you'd see them and you go, oh, that's just a hunting rifle. That's all you'd ever see. And yet, an AR-15 fires a .223 round. That's small. That's a 20. That's literally the size of a .22 bullet. Okay, it's just a bigger rifle. It's an intermediate cartridge, meaning that it's smaller than a rifle, bigger than a pistol. Whereas my semi-automatic hunting rifle, rounds this big, you know, .223, and it's bigger. There's a big difference there. They're not high-powered assault rifles. And just going back to this is the point of this gun control video. They just want you to be afraid. That's all they want, is for you to be afraid. And that's all their goal is, because you will consume. Scared people comply. Scared people comply. Scared people comply. If they make you scared, they can get you to hate or love whatever they want. People listen when they're scared. And instead of being scared, and instead of just assuming assault rifles, which are just semi-automatic guns, instead of assuming guns are bad, why don't you ask people? Why don't you learn? If you want to ever learn about guns, if you ever say, maybe my fear of assault rifles is irrational, ask us, ask me, ask other people who like guns. Just say, can you explain to me how this gun works? Can you explain to me, please, why this gun isn't a military gun? Why this gun is just a normal rifle? Can you please explain to me how guns work? Can you explain to me how rifle cartridges, pistol cartridges, how they're measured? I don't know this stuff, and I'd like to learn for my own knowledge, so I can make an educated decision on what my political stance is on these things. And we'd be happy to. I'd be happy to. If you ever have one of those questions, ask me. I can make videos about that stuff. That's what my YouTube is about. I just want people to be educated. I think in the end, it's about knowing what you're talking about, and it's about, if you're for gun control, at least know what you're talking about. At least be able to have an educated conversation with somebody about guns. At least know why you're scared. At least know that you should be scared. Not, I'm being told I should be scared. I guess that's really it. That's all I really have to say. And I know this was probably a long video. I can't see the timer from my camera. But I'm assuming it is. So, sorry about that. You don't go in and you don't have a debate with a math teacher in a class you haven't taken about mathematics you don't know how to do. You know, learn what you're talking about. Stop just consuming mindlessly. It doesn't mean don't watch the news. It doesn't mean you shouldn't consume. It just means be smart about it. Think about what you're doing. and research, learn, and be able to have a smart conversation with somebody. And if you can't, ask, because we want educated people on the matter. And that's it.